Welcome to this EliteParks customer webinar. Today we'll be looking at the end of day worksheet and cash receipt journal within EliteParks. My name is Mark Fugit. I am an application consultant for Elite Dynamics. The end of day process is an essential part of every business's end of day. Once your business day is concluded, it's important for you to reconcile those transactions so that you can count for all the money that you have taken in the business on that particular day. This can be in the form of cash, PDQ, online payments, or potentially bank payments. Through the system, you would use point of sale for recording these transactions, and these point of sale receipts provide clarity of information: who has taken the payment, who has made the payment, and also the method at which it has been paid. All of this data means that you can audit and follow the cash through the business very easily. With the end of day worksheet and your cash receipt journal, you can streamline and automate a lot of this process to make sure that it is as straightforward as possible for when your park needs to run through its end of day. We're first going to show taking a payment in the system and how this travels through to the end of day worksheet. With that process, we'll then look at the cash receipt journal and how that posting operates in the system. Within the system, I can take a point of sale for a payment made by a customer for anything from their invoices through to a point of sale item by using the point of sale feature. If I click on the point of sale drop down here, I can add in point of sale. Selecting this will prompt me with this window, and I can now select a customer, and I can select an invoice that they happen to be paying. In this instance, I'm going to select this invoice here. Now down my bottom section, it will add in a line for that invoice. So in this case, the amount left to pay is £2,125. If I receive this payment, I'm then prompted to use my user PIN, which is unique to my user and will be provided by your system admin. This is so that then my point of sale transaction is stamped with my ID. My payment methods, depending on what I have available for me, I can select whichever payment method the customer is paying with. So in this instance, I'm going to select card. I'm then going to type in my authorization code. That's because for this particular payment method, authorization code is mandatory. I then type in my amount tendered, and I press OK. I complete and post that payment. In this situation, I'm going to opt to not send the receipt, but I'm always able to get back to this receipt should I need to communicate it to the customer or view it at a later date. If I now close this window, what we can now do is look at what would happen if we rolled on to the end of the day. So say that was the only payment that was taken through your system. If we now head to end of day worksheet, you'll notice a couple of things. The end of day worksheet will automatically pull in the date, which is your current work date. The park code here will default to the park code that you are currently at. If you have access to other parks, you will be able to see other parks from underneath this list here. But it's important to note that any POS transaction you take will be stamped with the park code that you are currently logged in as. So for example, a salesman who maybe works at 2 different parks will need to make sure whenever they log into the system to register a payment that they're logged in to the right park, so that the system knows the payment was taken at that park. We also have Outlook codes, and Outlook codes allows you to have different areas of the park which you can list under here. We also have this toggle for show unreconciled. Essentially, that means this list will only show us the payments that are currently unreconciled. In this instance, the £2,125 we've just posted. However, you can see that previously has already been reconciled an amount of £4,250 on this particular account. If I click through on the unreconciled amount here, you'll see it allows me to open the record. Opening the record will present you with any of the POS receipts that you have taken through that payment method for this day. If I expand this view, you'll see this contains a wealth of information about what's been paid here. We can already see a description of what's been paid. We can see the price of what's been paid. We can see a posting date. We can see a posting time. We can see the user ID who's submitted this payment. We can also then see the part code, the outlook code, and the till number of which it's been submitted by. We can also see the payment method of card. And if you scroll further along, we can see a few additional details here. The most important one here, referencing the customer number, so the customer that has made that payment, and also the applies to document number, as well as the customer ledger entry number here. Now from this view, you can, at the top under process, we can send this receipt. We can also void this transaction. So if we know that this payment has been incorrectly taken against customer 1 and needs to be taken against customer 2, we can come into this view and we can void that transaction and then retake our payment. If we hit send, we are able to run through the printing or emailing of the POS receipt. Like so. Having viewed our POS entries, we can now post our end of day worksheet. To post the end of day worksheet, you need to type in the amount that you have actually taken for that day. So in this instance, where we're looking at card, you would total your receipts from your PDQ machine, and that total would be the total that you should have received, and it should match your total that is here on EliteParks as well. If this amount was different, you may potentially be missing a receipt. Someone may have not posted a payment on the system, and you may need to make that payment before you go ahead and reconcile this. If we agree that the amount unreconciled matches the amount that we have received, we can type that figure in here. And when I place that amount in, the difference amount disappears and our toggle for reconciled appears at the end. If taking cash, you can also specify whether or not a paying in slip number is required for when you are posting your end of day worksheet. This is so you can track which cash bag that money has gone into to the bank. Because we're using card as our option here, we don't need to do that step. If I select post, it then says, do you wish to post the end of day for today's date? If we hit yes, this will now post our transaction lines. And you'll see on our end of day worksheet, currently nothing to show in our unreconciled view here. Now, if we take the tag from here, it will show us other payments or anything else that's been reconciled on that particular day. But when we are completing our end of day, what we're interested in is looking at the unreconciled entries that have been posted here. If you have taken multiple payments via multiple payment methods throughout the day, your end of day worksheet will look a little more like this. You'll have individual lines for each of the different payment types that have been used, and as before, you will be able to drill in to each of these to see the payment that has been posted, who by, and at what park. If you have all of your cash together at the end of the day, you can then come through here and reconcile each of these individually, or you can do them together. Equally, you can do multiple, but not all at the same time. For example, I could do the card here, and also do the online amount here, and I could reconcile just these two. Those lines will then disappear, but these will remain unreconciled as I have not yet confirmed the amounts that I've received for these payment methods today. What we'll then see is if we head to our cash receipt journal, within our batch, because we have reconciled two different payment methods, we actually have two separate balancing lines. One that confirms the card total for today, one that then confirms the online total for today. As before, you can see all of the details on this line, the part codes and the department codes. And the document number follows the same principle of listing the payment type, followed by the date, then the part code. Once we're happy with these lines, we can then post them. Cash receipt journals are responsible for posting your end of day. Cash receipt journals can use a unique number series, which means that each transaction posted through a cash receipt journal can have its own ID reference, and therefore make it easier for searching in your general ledger entries for the end of day for a specific park, for example. Cash receipt journals can also be used for manual posting. They don't just have to be used in conjunction with the end of day process. And with that, you can then manually post payments to and from the customer and your bank. As a cash receipt journal, they work very similarly to your general journals, and you can have multiple batches set up for different purposes. As I just mentioned, you would have multiple batches or different batches for your end of days against different parks. This is so that then you could assign it against the park card or cash receipt journal. You can then have the specific number series for that park. So your park card, you can assign the POS outlet, the POS till number, and importantly for your end of day, you can assign the journal template and the journal batch name that you wish your end of day to be posted to and with. The benefit of this is this allows you to have an individual end of day cash receipt journal batch for each park that you have, meaning that transactions won't overlay and you'll have each park dealt with within a separate batch. Additionally, behind this, with the cash receipt journal, you can apply number series specific to that end of day batch, meaning that then when it's posted to your general ledger entries, you can see all of the entries that have been posted by that batch. If you search for cash receipt journals within the system, you can find journal batches for your cash receipts. You can also open up your cash receipt journal page and then click on the ellipsis dots next to the batch name. From here, you'll be presented with the list of batches that you have available. As you can see, as part of our setup in the test system here, we have an end of day for each park. If I open up our end of day from our park that we're logged in at, we can see that payment that we've posted through the end of day worksheet. The payment that's been posted contains a document number. The document number contains the payment method, i.e. card here, the date of the transaction, the part code, and a reference for the fact it was done through point of sale. Now you can see our first line here goes to our customer account and it specifies the invoice that we're paying. We can see the amount, and we can also see, if we scroll a little bit further along, the part code for that particular customer. So in this case, the part code is AF. We also then have our department code listed here as well. Our second line, which is added in for us, is a balancing line, and this is defaulting to our current bank account. As you can see, the description here gives you a summary for the card payments taken on this particular day, so that when you are reconciling in the bank, you know that for this particular day, for this particular park, we should have £2,125 paid in through the bank. Once we are happy with these lines, we can then proceed to post them, and then the money will be against the customer's account, and also it will appear in the bank ledger entries and allow us to reconcile that when we receive the money. Even though we have now posted this transaction through our end of day worksheet and then through our cash receipt journal, we can still use the end of day worksheet to look back at the transactions that we have posted. So if I head to end of day worksheet, whilst now when I click on this, you'll see I have no summary down the bottom here. If I take the tick here to show me all transactions reconciled and unreconciled, you'll see I can drill in to the card amount here for the reconciled amount to see the payments that have been taken for that particular day. You are able to change your date, so if you needed to go back to the previous day, for example, you could change the date at the top here. You can also change the part code or clear the part code to give you all sites transactions for the previous day. Again, I can drill through on the receipts here, and it will show me which payments have been made, who by, and what for. We can also use cash receipt journals to post annual payments. So for example, we can post bank payments through a cash receipt journal. Now you can see I'm currently in the batch of bank, and within here I can add in additional payment lines. You can see I have one added here for our customer number 1 of £500. I could then come in here and I could make an additional one, add an additional payment here to customer 3. Then keep adding lines depending on how many payments I have to post. And then when I'm finished, what I can do is I can insert a balancing line to the bank. Underneath process, I can use insert balancing lines. Now, through the options, I can choose between a few different things to consider as my balancing account type. In this case, we want it to be a bank account. Then a balancing account number, we're going to select the bank. Balancing description there of summary, and we're going to press OK. And that's going to insert us a balancing line for our journal that will post this to the bank with the term of payment summary for the 4th of the 8th. This is a really handy way of obviously being able to post customer payments into the system that you've received through the bank. We have been through posting a point of sale through the system. This was for a customer's invoice, but could be made for a point of sale item or a deal. Viewing the end of day worksheet. We viewed the end of day worksheet before and after we posted to see the differences, and also to see how we can get to reviewing the POS receipts. The POS receipts gave us the details for customers who have paid, and also gave us the details of the people who have posted those payments, including the date and time and the parks they were taken at. We've had a look at multiple payments on the end of day worksheet and how that looks. I hope you have enjoyed today's webinar. This brings us to the importance of reconciliation and reconciling your transactions after the end of every day. When you're taking transactions at your reception, through your sales teams, through your bookings offices, you'll need to make sure that at the end of every day you reconcile those transactions. Using the end of day worksheet, you can clearly see the payment types listed and individually reconcile each of those lines and post them into your cash receipt journal. It's essential for us to reconcile these so that the postings match with incoming amounts from the bank. We've also seen that the point of sale records all the necessary data for transactions, allowing a full audit history on all of those transactions posted for all of your payment method types. The benefit here is that it also records the user ID as well as the time and date that the payment was taken. The end of day worksheet gives you a full breakdown across parks for transaction amounts, and you can remove the filters to view this across multiple parks, or a specific date range for a park if you needed to. The benefit, again, is that with the recorded POS lines, you're able to see what payments have been taken and what has been reconciled in the system. If you have any questions from today's webinar, please leave them in the chat and they'll be taken down and recorded, and they'll be passed to either your account manager or passed through to a consultant for them to answer your questions and queries. Thank you very much for joining me today on covering and touching on the end of day worksheet and cash receipt journals within EliteParks.